Hi, this is Movies Suck, and today I'm going to have a look at a story about Rambo, Last Blood. This is on IGN. I know, I'm sorry. But it says Rambo author calls Last Blood a mess that he's embarrassed to be associated with. And it says here, critics have been pretty tough on the newest Rambo movie, but not as tough as author and John Rambo creator David Morrell. Morrell blasted Rambo Last Blood on Twitter today, calling the sequel a mess and saying he's embarrassed to be connected to it. Morrell tweeted in response to a USA Today story rounding up the most negative critical response to Last Blood, writing, "I agree with these Rambo Last Blood reviews. The film is a mess. I'm embarrassed to have my name associated with it." And then we can see the tweet here. It says, "I agree with these Rambo Last Blood reviews. The film's a mess. I'm embarrassed to have my name associated with it." With a picture here of Sylvester Stallone shooting an arrow. This is from the end of the film. And honestly, I agree with all this as well. I agree with David Morrell. This is not a proper Rambo film. Let's have a quick look at what he says further on. Although I disagree with this bit here. It says, while Last Blood has been heavily criticised for its depiction of Latino characters and emphasis on violence over substance, its depiction of Latino characters was a specific area of Latino characters, which is a cartel, slave traders, and heroin dealers. How else do you want to depict them? You're going to depict them in a nice soft light, saying, "Oh, look at these poor people having to rape these poor little girls. Oh, they're just so hard done by, and having to force them to take drugs and things so they can carry and use them as sex slaves. Oh, how do they live? Oh, those poor guys. Sod how poor the poor girls are. They don't seem to care about that, because that's a perfectly accurate depiction as well. People won't want to believe it, but that's basically an accurate depiction of how these poor girls are treated when they're captured and forced into this kind of thing. And probably most of them are going to die before they're 25. It's a very, very sad thing. And I'm glad that's one of the few things about this film I'm glad they shone a light on. Unfortunately, they also shone a little bit of a light on Rambo. So let's carry on reading. Morrell specifically takes the sequel to task for misrepresenting the main character. He followed up by tweeting, "The film made the character a cipher and assumed the audiences knew Rambo's background. But anyone under 40 will wonder what's going on. Rambo could have been called John Smith." Yet again, absolutely correct. The Rambo character in this film is kind of irrelevant. We didn't really see much of Rambo's life or any real development of his character. None of that was really in this. His character could have been swapped out with almost any other character. As I said, this is basically just like a low-tech Taken, where you've got a thug in place of someone who's been really, really well trained to do all this sort of thing. And then obviously you've got the tweet here as well. So, Morrell is best known for writing the 1972 novel First Blood, which was later adapted into a 1982 film starring Sylvester Stallone. The book and its film adaptation depict protagonist John Rambo as a Vietnam veteran haunted by PTSD and struggling to reintegrate back into civilian life. The movie sequels pushed the character in a different direction, painting him less as a psychologically damaged veteran and more as an unstoppable action hero. For Morrell, Last Blood appears to be a step too far in that regard. And this is all right. This is all completely correct. They thought to themselves, where else can we go with John Rambo? Well, obviously, send him back to war. The guy was an amazing soldier and a hero. So send him back to some sort of war. And that's what they did. And that all worked really well. That was all fine because it all sat within the John Rambo mythos. His army and him fighting for freedom and stuff. They're actually good things. I mean, alright, I wasn't a massive fan of Rambo 2 or 3, but I still enjoyed them. And then you got the Rambo 2008, I believe it was. That was an okay film. I think he mentions that a bit further on. It says, Morrell did, however, voice his support for 2008's Rambo, tweeting, "Rambo 4 had overlong action scenes, but the director's cut has excellent dialogue and understands the character. Wars. Old men start them, and young men fight them. Nobody wins." That's very Rambo, which obviously he understands. He wrote the character. But unfortunately, they've made Rambo Last Blood. Just a plain old generic revenge film with the last 20 minutes just being a crazy action fest of killing people in tunnels. I didn't hate it, but I didn't really like the film much. I'd rather just go re-watch Taken. Everyone out there who's thinking about watching Rambo Last Blood, go watch Taken instead, because that was awesome. Although, that said, as I do still support the idea of people seeing this film so that they make enough money that they make another one of them, because I think Rambo definitely deserves a better send-off than this. It says, IGN's review of Rambo Last Blood was none too positive either. Reviewer Whitney Seibold scored it a 4.5. I'm assuming that's 4.5 out of 10, because if that's 4.5 out of 5, that's not bad. That's pretty much an excellent film. But obviously, I'm being silly there. So Rambo series continues its track record of ultra-violence, shallow characterization, and irresponsible politics in Rambo Last Blood. Irresponsible politics? What the hell is he talking about? There was no politics in Rambo Last Blood. It was a very simple revenge thriller. What they're talking about here is the wishy-washy, lefty, liberal, elite, moron, stupid, idiot, SJW crapheads that are making a fuss about the fact that, oh, look how the poor Mexican gangsters, those Mexican criminals, were treated. Oh, those poor guys. As I said, what the fuck are these idiots talking about? This is a very simple film. John Rambo is, well, I'm not going to go into the whole story, but it's a very simple revenge thriller, and there's no reason to draw comparisons to current SJW philosophy. That's just pathetic. These idiots need to grow up and get a life. But if they want to call out a bad film, that's fine, because it's not a great film. I won't call it a really bad film, but it's not a great film. There's a film with more gore than a horror film, and some legit badass action that all too unfortunately plays like the dark fantasies of an angry teen. Well, yeah, pretty much. I won't disagree with that particular statement, as long as I don't start trying to draw politics into it. Anyway, let me know what you guys thought of all this in the comments. Don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and I will catch you guys on the flip side. This is Movies Suck, signing out.